Hello and welcome to Opinions Plus. Today's clip is about taxes in general. Well, that's what I'm starting out on, but it ends up in another uh, perspective. But I saw a clip that talked about, how the rich do not pay their fair share in taxes. It's obvious to anybody that the rich do not pay their fair share in taxes. There's loopholes. They they advertise and they make people believe that that's fine because the less taxes they pay, the more economic benefit they give. Now that's just not right. There should be a fairness in the tax system. I think we people can all agree on that. But who makes the laws? The rich, the powerful. It's not a matter of lobbying. It's a matter that these people want to have the power and the prestige, and they don't want to put the coin out. They just don't. It's like a human nature thing. Because if they would, volunteer, let's say, to pay taxes, because there was a time when there was no income tax. It's a fairly recent phenomenon that income tax became part of it. What they did do was use tariffs and other, income, other forms of taxation on goods coming into the country, and customs was a big, big thing. I mean, produced a lot of money for the country, the federal government. The states had their own taxes and whatnot, but it wasn't an income tax. The income tax was, developed, but who develops it and why? There's a whole history, just like this, well, like the civil rights movement. There's a whole history as to why. It wasn't just Martin Luther King that kicked this off. He became a dominant figure in it, but there's many, many, many people. And for years, even under slavery, people knew how debauched a system, a concept slavery was. They were elevating themselves, they were enlightening themselves to a better way. Now, the tax system is based on the same type of people who, you know, make the laws. It's just the same group that does it. The character of these legislators is the critical thing. We have to look for what is fair. Why? Because it creates a better way of life. Fairness does not create anxiety, it creates a mellowness and an agreement that things are in the common good. People aren't taking advantage of one group or another. It's pretty cut and dry. All the principles I talk about on this channel are pretty cut and dry when you get down to it. It's foundational issues, cut and dry, character. Get people in there that do what? That act in the sense of what is for everybody's good. Not just following the mob, not just following the majority. The majority of people don't know how to rule themselves. They just have a majority of opinion. That doesn't mean we have to follow it. And the rich dominate the airways, dominate advertising, dominate the mood of the society. You don't think that's true? Of course it is. Certain things get around it because it becomes a common issue. that people start changing things because they get together on it. It's not the norm, though. Changes in labor laws. Child labor was for centuries accepted. And I did a clip on Scrooge and Dickens. Child labor was accepted then. It was debauched. There were good people that treated some of these kids good, others horrible. That's the way it is, guys. So what do we need? The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Corporations don't have to, what a fair percentage is well beyond this little clip. But there are people that can analyze this and come up with fair projections as to what is fair to all American citizenry. Corporate leaders, corporations, even though they're not a person, they're a entity, and they have rights. But they don't have to get away with murder. They don't have to get away with, all the things that they do and pay nothing. Yes, it's an incentive. Of course it is. Obviously, it goes to the root of humanity. But it's not fair to everybody. All people need to have this balance. It just is. How do you get there? Because you're not going to please everybody. You won't please all the poor. You won't please all the middle class. You won't please all the rich. You won't please a lot of people. But that's not your position as a legislator, as a person of character and integrity. Your position is to create a balance, a happiness, a fairness. It's the best word I can think of in the society, so there's contentment in the majority. Majority rules doesn't mean that you have to be, follow blindly what a bunch of people who vote your side or whatever think. You vote for a leader that gives service, who is a servant of the people. That's who you're looking for. As in many clips, character matters. It matters here. Tax reform, immigration reform, all come down to what? Character, integrity, and acceptance. And people have to make these distinctions. Leaders are not, as I said, I guess I keep repeating myself, I suppose, but leaders, they're just people, man. They're just people. Nothing special about them. They have authority, but they're just a person just like you and I. Well, what changes that? It's their purpose. It's what they go for. It's what they live for. It's what they believe in. And it's not just one thing like abortion or, some progressive movement or whatever. It's a balance of what is good for everybody. Now, there are people who say that whatever's good for the rich is good for the country. You've got all kinds of people like that. Trickle down economics, the big thing back in the Reagan times and all that. There's no one system that works for everything. But people have to get together and see that there's prices to be paid. There are some things that have to be paid for. Do you have to have 3/4 of your budget going to the Pentagon? Is there corruption? Can you save money by having better organization? This crazy approach to the IRS that I hear some of these Republicans, the 87,000 people that are going to be armed and go out there and, with guns and raid your small business. I mean, it didn't come to the fore, but people believed in that stuff. Senators, that Grassley guy, he believed in it. Come on. And he grew up in America. I grew up in America. I worked for the federal government. There was no way I believed in that nonsense. But people do believe in it. They see it, they're fearful. So what do you need? You need people that come forward and say, I'm going to take that fear away. I'm going to be decent about it. I'm going to try to be honest. It's going to be an uphill battle. You see in the clips today, just in the hearings, the congressional hearings, the vulgarities, the incivility. How do you get a good tax code out of that? Well, the rich know how to manipulate the market. They know how to manipulate the advertising bit. They know they pay good money for people, corporations, and others. They have organizations designed just for that. We, the little guy, we don't have that. We have to use this mind. We have to use this heart. That's what we have to use. And can we all get together? Obviously, no. It's just too widespread. But on fundamental values such as character, which we should look at, are you going to make a mistake? Yes. Will you vote some cracker in there that's going to, defraud you and cheat you and everything? Yes. But the odds of getting good people in just increase because you want them to be good. You want them to be fair. You want to have a fair tax code. Fair tax code. The middle class just don't get a break and the poor get screwed. The poor get screwed a lot. On a lot of levels. They get some perks in some ways and nothing in some other ways. There's a lot of people that say, just your handouts, destroying the country and all that. They don't have a clue. Nobody really knows. But you just don't give away things. There's so much fraud and mishandling that senator from Florida, was anyway, Medicare fraud and all this. There's all types of things going on out there. Are we safe and secure from it all? No. Obviously, just look around us today. You see the ramifications. You see the results of not having people of character. When they have to vote hard, make hard decisions to vote for right, justice, honor, integrity in your system so it creates a better system, they back off. They say, I'm just going to vote for what my constituents say. Constituents aren't right. They're just people like you and me. And on one area or another, they might have a good idea. But it takes leaders to understand, to meld together, to create laws, to create good tax code. The rich don't pay enough. They never have, and they probably never will. That doesn't mean you don't try. Try to make a system fair. Try to make it honorable. Try to make it, reasonable, and still pay for the things we need. There's a lot of money that goes out for roads and all these other things that just are basics, but also, the international payments and things like that, this fear of giving money to the Ukraine and all that. It's important. Plus, the money that people don't seem to understand. The money that the Ukraine gets is mainly ammunition, stuff we make, businesses that benefit from it, and yet there's such a fear of it. Why? Because they're confused about Putin? Grief. He's a bad guy. Simple. There's a lot of bad guys out there. Anyway, the tax codes, it's not a phenomenon. It's the way it is. The wealth disparity is way out of whack. 1% of the population on 95, 97, depends on who you listen to. The wealth of the wealth in the world, and that's not good. it doesn't work out. There's going to be conflict because people suffer. And when people suffer, there's going to be more conflict. We have to educate ourselves, become better people, but go find people of character to make a tax code that is reasonable and fair and righteous for all. Are people going to pay? Yes. Yeah, they're going to pay because taxes are there one way or another. If it's not an income tax, it's a sales tax. If it's not a sales tax, it's a property tax. It's all types of taxes. It's going to be there. Governments need money to run. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But find people of honor and integrity. Hard to do. Maybe you can stand up. Maybe you can be a legislator. Maybe you can help your society and your country directly. We can all do it indirectly, but you may be one that does it directly. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, subscribe, hit the like button, and comment. You can always comment. You never know who sees it. I don't have a great viewership, but whoever sees it, it may impact. It may impact. You never know. But I'll know one person it impacts, and that's the writer putting their thoughts down. Take care. Have a good day. Hope to hear from you. Bye for now.